Hello, everyone. I have gotten a few questions from some of you about how exactly are we supposed to take this outline and turn it into a speech? Like, we're not reading it, so what are we doing here? So this is one of those things that I realize now I would have talked about in class if we were face to face, but we're not. So I'm putting together this little video. I hope it won't take very long, but as you know, I often tend to get a little excited about this stuff. So we'll see how this goes. So what I have done is I've printed out the outline that I made for the speech that I put together as a sample for you. But I want us to take a look at the sample so you can see what I'm doing here. So this is this is sometimes confusing. I ask you to put your specific speech purpose here at the very beginning of the outline right here, but I don't want you to start your speech with that. You should all start your speech with your planned attention-getting statement. And now this might be confusing as well. You're not supposed to write out what you say word for word in the outline, but then I've basically told you to write out word for word what you say in your attention getter. And it can be confusing. Your textbook also addresses. Here are some of the reasons why you do need to pretty much verbatim write out what you're going to say in the introduction. First of all, I'll go back to me here. First of all, typically for almost all speakers, your highest point of anxiety happens within the first 30 seconds of your presentation. And then as you sort of get going, anxiety drops dramatically. And so if you want to be a successful speaker, one of the best things you can do is have a very precise plan for how you will start your speech. And so that is one good reason to write out verbatim what you want to say in your introduction. Also, a lot of times speakers want to use stories as their attention getter. And if you don't write out exactly how you want to say that story, a lot of times what should be a 30-second introduction rambles on into 1 or 2 minutes. And so it's really important for the very beginning of your speech to know exactly what you want to say. But as you get into the body of the speech, you want to be looking at your outline less and less, and you want to be looking at your audience more and more. And you don't want to memorize it. You want to be able to speak conversationally. And so that is why we just put single sentences, and those sentences are designed to keep us on track and to convey the most important parts of the message. But a lot of what I'm going to say in the presentation actually is living in my head. I know a lot about this topic. I've done the research, I have the lived experience. And so what I'm going to do is just use the cues in the body of the presentation to remind me of the most important things I want to say. And I'll do that. Now, as you can see, on my transition, I went ahead and highlighted that because it's so easy for me to forget that essential element of reminding the audience I'm moving from one main point to another. And so what I do when I'm speaking is I highlight that, or I put it in bold, or I use a highlighter if I'm just working on my physical paper, and I highlight it so I don't forget it. And then when I get down to my conclusion, and you can see my conclusion here. Once again, I have pretty much written out exactly what I want to say, and there's a reason for that. When you get to the conclusion, your brain is telling you, okay, I'm done, but your speech isn't actually over. Even though the conclusion is just saying things you've already said, it's an essential element to close the speech, remind the audience of the main reason for your speaking, and end it on a psychologically satisfying note. And so I went ahead and wrote out exactly what I would want to say in the conclusion. So having said all of that, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take just a minute and I'm going to stand up and sort of tell you how I would do this recording if I were doing this speech. So let me get my stuff out of the way. All right, so you can see my entire body here. All I'm asking is that I be able to see from about the thigh up, because it's essential as part of the public speaking process that you learn to control your movements and your gestures. And I talk about this a little bit in the How to Practice presentation. But let's just say I'm starting my video. A lot of times what people want to do when they start their speech is they want to say, hi, I'm Millie. I'm going to give a speech about owning a bakery. Do something you love and you'll never work a day in your life. Okay, so what I've done is I have essentially sort of softened my opening by introducing myself and telling everybody what my speech is about. And I'm asking you not to do that. The way I want you to think about this, and the way this will almost always happen, is that you will have been introduced before you speak, okay? So instead of, like, it would be like somebody saying, and now Millie Shaw is going to talk to us about owning a bakery. And then I get up and I say, hi, I'm Millie Shaw. I'm going to talk to you about owning a bakery. Well, they just said that, okay? So let's pretend, for the sake of this exercise, that as you stand up to give your speech, I will have said, and here our next speaker is Millie. She's going to talk to us about owning a bakery. So I want you to get your video started, get yourself set up, take a deep breath, calm yourself down a little bit. It's anxiety inducing just to speak in front of a camera, but you also need to have this practice if you're going to speak in front of an audience. It's okay to take a moment. Take a moment. Now, I have basically memorized exactly what I want to say for my introduction. So I'm going to say that to my audience. Do something you love and you'll never work a day in your life. Sounds great, right? That's true unless you own a bakery. And then the thing you love might grow into the thing you hate. Today, I want you to understand bakery ownership as a possible career. And first, I'm going to explain to you that bakery ownership means that you have to sort of become a jack of all trades and do a lot more than just be a baker. And then I'll tell you how much time and attention it's going to take for you to run that business. So let's start by talking about all the things you have to do to become a bakery owner. Bakery ownership requires a lot more than just making pretty cakes. In fact, making pretty cakes is only a small part of bakery ownership because the cake business is a seasonal business. There are high times and low times, and you have to learn to offer a variety of services to cope with slow seasons. Lisa Ferguson, in The Baker's Guide to Opening a Successful Bakery, says that many bakers find it necessary to start offering catering services because business slows down during cooler months. So not only do you have to offer catering services, but you also need to develop new items. In fact, Tina M., a former bakery owner and blogger about the experience of owning a full-time bakery, said that she needed to constantly add new items and run promotions to keep walk-in business, as people are bored very easily, and it's exhausting. All food businesses do it, so don't expect to be the exception. She goes on to note that even if you are just a bakery, people tend to associate bakeries with being more of a full-service business. So you'll start having to offer things like sandwiches and coffee and all kinds of other services. And she says that all of those services that you have to offer require planning, require research and development, require additional products and materials to make those things marketable. And all of those things eat into your time and, perhaps more importantly, your profit. You also have to become your own business manager and marketing professional when you're a bakery owner. Okay, I'm going to stop there. So what I want you to notice about the way that I was doing the presentation is that I was working from my outline. You can see my outline if you go look at it. And I was sort of relying on it pretty heavily, but I was also just talking to my audience. I was having a conversation with them while at the same time referencing some specific pieces of evidence that I had included. And that's sort of the balance you want to find. A well-planned, very detailed presentation that's also conversational and natural. And that is the style that we call extemporaneous. So you're not just going to sort of get up and have a go at it. You're going to use your notes. You're going to have them with you. You can, if you want to transfer this to note cards, that's fine. Although I tend to find that note cards are difficult because if you get ahead of yourself on the note cards, then you have like the note card shuffle. I really recommend that you learn to speak from your outline. Now, what I haven't done in this assignment, and I am going to ask you to do in your persuasive assignment, is I haven't required you to turn in a keyword outline and to develop one. And a keyword outline, or I think your book calls it the speaking outline, is really just where you take this full sentence outline and you pull out just the most important elements because you're so familiar with the information. And of course, if you have rehearsed this speech 3 to 5 times, following the practice format that I told you about, then you are very familiar with this information. But that's how you're going to do it. I recommend doing almost verbatim for your introduction and conclusion, and then more conversational and a little more loosey-goosey, but still following your planned outline structure for the body of the speech. I hope that answers some questions and concerns you might have had. If you've already recorded your video and you don't want to re-record it, I understand. But I recommend maybe even recording it a couple of times. I'll guarantee you your third take is going to be better than your first take. It's like when you play golf, that second shot is almost always better than the first one. Just record it again. I mean, you can delete the videos and submit whichever one you want. So please continue to contact me with your questions and comments and suggestions. As I don't know if you guys, I don't know if y'all know this, but I've taught public speaking in the classroom for years and years and years, a total of about 15 years. Is that right? Yeah, it's right. But I haven't really ever taught it fully online. So there are some little hiccups and spots that I miss. So make sure you ask me questions because your questions are not unwarranted. This is a new endeavor for me as well. Okay, good luck with your speeches and I will talk to you again soon.